So guys, here we are. Biggest thing we want to encourage. I don't care how you run. Okay, the first thing that we're going to encourage is straight feet. Your feet have to be straight. Okay. So many people walk out duck-footed, okay, and then things collapse and all these bad things happen. So as soon as your feet are straight right now, okay, you can see how beautifully everything lines up. You see his Achilles runs nice and straight up and down. You can see arching his foot. A lot of people, I have flat feet. Well, you have flat feet because you walk like a duck. You don't have flat feet because you're just metabolically deranged person. You have flat feet just because you don't do what you're supposed to. Same, I'm going to have you turn your feet out 30 degrees. Fantastic. Where'd all the weight go? Yeah. So all of a sudden, all the weight's on the heel. Okay, you stand like this. You see people stand like this all the time. It's like the default position. All the weight's back on your heel. All of a sudden, same thing, you turn around. And arches collapse. And now all of a sudden, the foot doesn't work like a foot. The ankle doesn't work like an ankle, because if he were trying to walk in that position, he would pronate, which is a great word to use, especially if you're trying to sell shoes. Great word to use. And now all of a sudden, the ankle collapses in, the knee collapses in, the hip is impinged, and you're just kind of dragging in this like awkward spot. Okay. Feet have to be straight. This is always fun to run in the snow and to check your feet. Like if you ever do an out and back, okay, you run and then you come back. Like, oh, that's me. Here you are. And you should be usually doing it for the next instructor. I was actually talking to one of our football coaches at North. They actually teach their linebackers feet in. I never heard that before. He didn't know how. He's like, yeah, do it. But if you have your feet in, you're able to get more tension through your hip. And now everything is firing. Your back's in a good position, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you do that excessively, you're probably going to burn things out. So straight is really the safer way to go. The other thing, you notice now, because the Achilles is all kind of, you look straight. I'll tell you what you look at. Also, the Achilles that was straight up and down is now angled, which then means everything else then has to compensate. The knee is in, now the hip is out. Okay, you're just dumping a lot of pressure on that low back. Problems. A lot of times, guys, this can stem from a lot of things, but a lot of times it's upstream. It's hips and hamstrings. That's why with all of our athletic performance stuff, we do a lot of work, squatting, deadlifting, doing glute hands, et cetera, et cetera. Because if you get strong back here, this position is not a hard position to get into. Okay. Just because you're strong doesn't mean that you do this all the time. It's something that should be practiced. Okay. You're standing in line at the grocery store, you should have straight feet. Okay. You're hanging out in the hallway, what to do? You should have straight feet. Et cetera, et cetera. Same fantastic thing. You don't. Unless you want to stay on the camera.
No.
Now with that too, and then we're going to get you up here and going in a second. With this too, once you have straight feet, the cycle of the leg, and we'll talk about this, but the cycle of the leg should be straight up and straight down. Okay. If I'm coming at Johnson here, there should be no kick out with anything that I'm doing. It is straight forward and straight down. Okay. Never should there be a little wobble. It's like having this Ferrari and then having one wheel that's just kicked out just slightly. You can run really fast. What's your dad have? What's the white one? There we go. So you have a core back. If you tighten the lug nuts, like not going in that little skirmish pattern, and you just kick the wheel a little bit, you think that core back can go 100 miles an hour? I do. I bet it can still do 100 miles an hour. If you did 100 miles an hour for a really long period of time with the wheel kicked out, is that a good idea or not good? Okay, so at some point, even though you get that, you're driving a vet, even if something is kicked out ever so slightly, the whole thing could fall apart. And that's the issue that I see with track kids all the time. They have fantastic seasons, and then late April, if something goes wrong with them, I don't know. Well, your wheel was kicked out for the last 3 months, and you didn't know it. And now look at you. now you have shin splints, or now you have stress fracture, whatever. Let's get you up to Let's remove all shoes. We're going to run basically from that wall to that wall. So if we can clear out this area, so shoes, we're going to go shoeless right now. You're okay with it? Yeah, where are they at right now? Is that funny? Yeah. That's just the default. Now, what was like, every time you squat, every time you dive, everything that we do is feet straight, feet straight, feet straight. The thought is though, with everything that's wrapped up in your legs, all the tendons, ligaments, all the fascia, if Corey lays down on the beach on a little vacation, okay, what happens to his feet when he lays down? Tip out. Okay? You almost have to like tie your big toes together, so they don't. Same thing. You lie in bed, you go like this because the way you're wired up, like it just like this is. That's what happens with everything that's all the connective tissue. It's really you're pulled in that like default way, in that default manner, just to have feet up. So this is fine, but you're not stable from this position. So that's why we need everything forward, everything forward, everything forward. Sound good? So every time you stand from here for the rest of your life, when you look down at your feet, you're like, give me a straight. Now you should at this point. If you squeeze your tummy just a little bit, maybe squeeze your hips just a little bit, you should have a really nice arch there. Unless you're really messed up. Yeah, you guys look great. Yeah, I mean, it's funny how people's feet look better when they put them in good position. Sounds kind of silly, but here we go. We're just going to have you stand right there. We're just going to have you bounce really, really simple. Okay, look at your feet. Fantastic. Move back up. Fantastic. Really nice. Arms, just for kicks. I'm going to put your arms just right at 90 degrees. Now again, this is totally scalable. So if you're just a sprinter, you're just a distance kid, or blah, 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 this is all just scalable. It's just, you would do it faster, quicker, more, you would do it slower, etc. So, awesome. We're just going to lock the arms in at 90 degrees. We're going to look at the feet, make sure they're straight, and we're going to bounce. Nice. From here, we're just going to run in place. So feet don't move. Awesome, relax. Run in place. That's interesting. The first time I say run in place, feet start going out like this. Okay? Everything's straight up, straight down. So that we don't want you to come up a whole lot. But as you're bouncing, straight up, straight down. The knee's going to come up and come straight down. Okay? You have the feet straight. So now that the foot is straight, the ankle's right behind the foot, the knee is right above the ankle, the hip is right above the knee, and everything is nice and aligned. The second you start going out with stuff, now everything's broken. So everything's straight. Feet straight, belt, feet straight. I was in women's yesterday. Wing and line. Feet straight. Right. Teaching, okay, it's all that I showed you. I should have more things going on in my life than I should. Feet straight, hands, and bounce. Arms just locked in, hands. Look down at your feet. Fantastic, look back. We'll run in place. Straight down, straight up, straight down, straight up. So if you are really straight up, straight down, there shouldn't be a lot of wiggle. Okay, I pulled it up, we haven't watched it yet. Awesome, relax. The NCAA just highlights, and to watch them run, like the best of your college men and women, and watch them run, even, they all don't run perfect and whatever. I'm not a D1 runner. But it's one of those things, they do a lot of really good things. Like, you can even just like cover up, like waist down, and watch them run, and they just look so cool. Okay, you go to a middle school race, even high school race, kids are like punching the air, and they look like they're actually battling. They're in a Spartan race when there's actually not a Spartan race going on. Anyway, okay, so straight up, straight down, nice and tight with everything that's going on up here. When I say tight, I don't mean like a 10 out of 10, like you just pulled the heaviest deadlift in the world. But I mean like a 3 out of 10. You should have tension up here. Okay, you should be tight. You should not be relaxed. Awesome. We'll bounce it. Look at your feet. Fantastic. Listen to how soft you guys are too. You're making very little noise. Awesome. We're running place. No wiggle, no wobble. You're looking straight ahead. You're looking straight ahead. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Hey guys, relax. So here's poster. You need to jump. Sam, you're a great guy. Come on. So Sam, when he runs, or Sam, when he shoots a basketball, goes through many poses. You pretend like you just got a ball and just shot it. Pretend like you made it though. No. Here, go. Real, like slow motion. And smash the ball, catch, move to. So we could like take 1,000 different frames of him shooting that basketball, and you'll see him here, and you'll see him here, and you'll see him here, and then you'll see him here, and here, and here, and here. Okay. A coach doesn't coach every single one of those. Okay. A coach is going to say, hey, you got to catch triple threat. A coach is going to say, you know, hey, 4 in the cookie jar. That was, what was our cookie jar, or cookie jar top shelf. That's okay. 5th grade. Varsity, it all works out. You know, and you want 4 to the floor. Okay, you don't want 4 out. You don't want to shoot the ball and be out here. 4 to the floor. So you want that. So he's looking at those specific poses within shooting the basketball. Does that make sense? There are infinite amount of poses. We have cameras and iPhones now that will slow things down to the, you know, whatever of the second in which to see all these poses that he runs through. Does that make sense? It's the same thing with running. Okay. But the pose that we look for in running is really what's on the back of that t-shirt right there. It's the guy in that figure 4 position. Because no matter how you run, you will pass through that position. Maybe go on with that. If Sam's running really, really slowly, he's going to lean like this. I'm going to fall for him. Go right here. Yeah. If he's jogging slowly, sorry. There you go. No, there. If he's jogging slowly, he'll be there. If he's sprinting as fast as he can, if he's sprinting really, really fast, he's going to be there. Okay. That's the only difference between how you're going to run in which to tackle blah, 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 before he scores a touchdown, and how you would run a 2-mile. Like it doesn't really change. I guess it's just the angle of the link. That pose position, this figure 4 position, is the pose that we're looking for. And we're looking for you. You'll all get into it. I don't really have to coach it, because it will happen. Automatically. Every time. What we do have to coach then is getting you from here to here as quickly and as efficiently as possible without a whole lot of other stuff going on. So when we say pose run, I don't know. I went to certification, I got the cert, paid the money. It's a really hard test. But like this, compared to all the other runnings that are out there, it ends up being very awesome. If you look down, you should see your toes, you should see your knees right above your toes. Okay, and see some people do this? You guys look pretty good. But like weak people, awesome, relax. With knees like bailing together. Okay? Because they don't have the hip strength in which to really stay stable. Yeah. Nice upright. Arms just kind of locked in here. We're in place. Fantastic. No. Tight. Awesome. From here, all we're going to do, don't move yet. We'll just lean and just get you running on the ball of the foot through here, and then jog out to the turf. So first group, you stop. Awesome. Relax. That was exhausting. There we go. Come out. Awesome. We're in place. First group go. Second group out. Well, and lean. Okay. Hey, I'm straight. Yeah. Go back. Okay. Come on, run, please. And run. First group or second group. Go bounce. Run, please. And go. Pose, fall, pull. So Sam gets in that pose position. Pose position. From there, he's going to fall. Okay. So literally, he will lean. But what's fantastic about the human body is that he has this amazing awareness that if I just let him go, he'll catch himself. Okay. I've never ever done that and then anybody land on their face. So that would be awesome if you just would have it will completely defeat the purpose of this, but so the idea that, hey, you're going to get into this position and then you're going to fall. Okay? It's not a jump. There's no explosion. You're not pushing. Okay? It's just a fall. And because you don't want to fall on your face, what will happen is that you will pull the other foot that's on the ground So Sam gets up there again. He will pull the left foot as he falls to his, right underneath his head. Okay. And the idea is, let me have you do that. And the idea is to do that as quickly and efficiently as possible. That you can fall. So as I told you, yeah. So we're looking to pull that heel extremely, extremely fast. You will fall. Because it's gravity, it's a fantastic arrow. Okay, but we want to pull that extremely, extremely fast. Feet straight. Fantastic. We're going to actually do, let's do this. First group, I'm going to send everybody together because it's, I feel like we're the first group because it kind of sets the second group. First group, take a second one. Fantastic. We'll do everybody together. Just second group, don't run over the first group if you're okay with this. Awesome. Feet straight. Transic round back. Pull bounce. Right in place. Straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down, and run. Soft as you possibly can. Awesome. Here we go. So feet straight. Isn't it too, like, if you think about like football stance, feet were always straight. If you think about like getting into the blocks for track, never are toes out. Everything's always straight. Feet straight. Bounce. Right. And then straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down, straight up, straight down. You're turning out that foot dog. There you go. Straight up, straight down. Woo, and run. Come close. Even if you watch, so these are just the highlights. I didn't really. If you just watch these guys run, this, I think that's a girl. Is that a girl? That's a girl. There we go. You see how little movement that there is up top? Like, running really, really good is really not overly exciting. You just watch these guys run. How calm they look from the top up. Keep moving on. But it's, there's not a lot, there's no twisting, there's no turning. Everything is straightforward, straight back. Hey, Michigan State. Dance. Push buttons. Guys the same way. Nothing changes. I think Oregon was one of those. Galen Rupp runs absolutely perfectly. See that figure four? Like that, everyone gets that position. Now the only difference here is that he's in his whatever, he's at the 1,000-meter mark. He's not going overly fast. This will be faster. Well, this will not fast for him. You see, it's not that hard for him. Okay? As he gets faster, he will lean harder. You guys will lean harder, you know, because of you guys being sprint explosive athletes than what distance. That's absolutely beautiful. If you can see, the guy in front of him here is about to strike the ground. And we haven't talked about how to strike the ground. But all of you, when you go from a bounce to a run in place, to actually running and jogging, all of you are landing ball foot. Okay, or mid-foot, forefoot, whatever you want to call it. It's all whatever, not heel is really what we're going for here. And you can see the guy in front of him, it really, really looks good as he's about to strike the ground. He's just toed down a little bit. He's not like excessive with it. It's not like running on toes. But he's ball of foot. Most of the time, you know, when you're young, you play, you know, football, basketball, you're very explosive, you don't have this issue. A lot of our distance kids get very healy, okay, and then just gets really, really slow. Okay. That I think both of those are fantastic poses within this entire.
So a stride is shorter than too, right?
Absolutely.
But that doesn't slow them down, and it's obviously not. But you would think mentally that.
Well, that's where the cadence will go higher. So if you have a cadence of 150 heel striking, or you're going to have a cadence of 180, and you're going to midfoot strike. That midfoot strike will be easier on the body. You get more efficient and energy faster. It does bother some people in the way of they put this as a stride. Well, like aerobically, they're not used to it because they breathe within a little pattern, and now all of a sudden, instead of breathing, now they have to breathe, you know, a little more shallow. but a little bit quicker, just like the cadence. And that's tough, but that's something you train. Just like anything else. Good question. By the way, guys, at this point, I have stuff written on a yellow pad here, and there's stuff on the wall. If you have questions, please ask questions. Okay, don't hold back. It's fun because every single question has to do with every single one of you. I don't care if you're, again, a sprinter versus a distance runner, et cetera, et cetera. That looks fantastic. The guy behind me the same way. It's really hard to be an elite level runner where these guys are at and not do 98% of the stuff. Not saying that there's probably not something that they can work with, but Gaylor Up is the best I've seen. And honestly, for a little white kid who went to Oregon to run with the best in the world, to beat the Cats is a huge deal. Like, that's awesome. And I don't think he wins because he's a tough guy, and I don't think he wins because his training is better than everybody else's. Okay? I think he wins because he runs really well. Because everybody trains the same, especially at this level. I'm not saying that they're all doing thousands on Tuesdays and they're all doing 400s on Friday, but in essence, they're all doing the same stuff. They're doing, high intensity stuff, and they're all running 200s, and they're all doing strides, and they're all lifting weights, and it just comes out to who's able to really execute the format. You know what I mean? That's why, like, hey, coach, how many 400s do you run? I don't care. As long as you're doing well, it doesn't really matter. At some point, at some level, it might matter, but we're not there. Most of us are. We'll freeze them a little bit more. It's even fun to see them straight forward and how absolutely straight up and down and tight everything is. To see the hip, the knee, the foot, and everything like absolutely straight. There's no toe out with it. You can see how straight all their feet are. He's in the toe out. He's in the middle of the group though, so maybe that's an issue. One more freeze, then we'll go back to work. Fall. The second thing or last thing that is pull. And it's the idea of taking this foot and pulling it right underneath your hip as fast as possible. Again, if you're sprinting, your heel will come up here. Okay? If you're jogging slowly, if you're marathon pacing here, it's going to come this far. If you try to run a marathon and have your heel hit your rear end every time, that's going to go on a marathon. Or you're going to be the fastest man alive, one of those things. You're just going to burn yourself out. We're going to overemphasize some things with this just to kind of keep you good with the form. Feet straight. Your feet all up. Oh man. Well done. Did you do that naturally or did you do that purposely? There you go. That's good. There we go. We'll bounce. Fantastic. We'll run a place. Fantastic. Right leg. We're going to keep running in place here. I'm going to have you pull your right heel right underneath your butt. So it's going to look like that. You just take a few strides. Pull that right heel right under. Right under. Right under. Right under. We'll do the left leg. Left leg. Left leg. Left leg. Left leg. Nice. Relax. Sam, come here. Sam's good thing. Good thing here. Okay. So when Sam, I'll stand here. Go forward. Yeah. This is where we want that heel. Okay. When we say heel under butt, literally heel under butt. What we don't want is hind knee. Okay. This gets us really nowhere with this. This is just we're using our hip flexors a whole lot more than what we need to, and a lot of people just kind of kick back, kind of donkey kick style. This isn't getting us anywhere either. It is. We want this heel to track straight underneath his hip. So if you're to drop a plumb line from his heel, okay, to turn Sam into a puppet. We should be able to pull this heel straight underneath his rear end. Woo. Yeah, here, come back. Hold me, Sam. Here, over here. Right underneath your rear end. Boom. Right underneath your rear end. Okay, again, like he's a puppet. Marionette. That's what I was looking for. And it's just right underneath. Okay, it's not driving. Okay, it's not kicking back. It's just right underneath. Does this make sense? If you do this right, you're going to feel your hamstrings get really tired. Again, why we do all the hamstring training that we do, okay, if you're able to be strong with that, holy cow, you're able to be very efficient, is what you do when you train your really, really fast. Thank you. Fantastic. We're gonna do that thing again. Okay. We'll hit right foot, then left foot, and then whatever. Here. Feet straight. Go bounce. We're in place. Okay, we're gonna marionette. Right foot. Right foot. Right foot. It doesn't have to be every stride. Fantastic. We'll go left leg. Left. Fantastic. Relax. Step hard. We feel like we're falling over. Maybe tired in the hamstrings? My God, if you do that really hard, like it's, I didn't listen to you guys. Okay, I feel it. Like it's, you're pulling. Like it's all hamstring. We're gonna do that one more time, and then we'll actually run it. Do you think you can do it in time? Do you think we all do it together? Is that doable? You guys really good people? You guys dance at weddings? No? No? I don't know. Okay, awesome. Feet straight. Bounce. Oh, we'll run in place. Okay, we'll start with the right leg. And we're going to pull every other pull. So it'll be right, 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 right. Last one. Right. Fantastic. And we'll go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. My left leg is 2. And pull. Oh, sorry, I'm shaking my head. We'll go, sorry, and we'll go left leg here. And left leg. Left leg. Left leg. Left leg. Left leg. Left leg. Okay, that was hard. Okay, never mind. Just let me do it. Doing it together. Any idea? Okay, so we're going to run in place, or bounce, run in place. We'll start pulling with the right leg. And then we're going to do the same thing and just have you move forward as you go. I don't care how often you pull that right leg. You can do it every stride, you can do it every other stride, you can do it every third stride. You can do it whatever you feel like it, like intermittently. But we'll go all the way to where we started in the third gym. So what this will end up being is you'll bounce, you'll run in place, you'll pull the right one, pull the right one, pull the right one, pull the right one, and then we'll just start moving. And just pull that right one whenever you want to. Again, every other, every one, every third, doesn't really matter. But now and again, you just run and you pull quick. But be quick with this. Okay, as fast as you can without being out of control. Yeah, we don't want to look ridiculous. But be quick. And we'll do everybody together. Second group, just don't run over the first group because we're not looking to run fast. Sound okay? Here, we'll bounce. We'll run this. Pull the right foot whenever you want to. Pull. And now we'll go forward. iPod, because your feet are making too much noise and you're getting a different baseline, that's an issue. Okay? So you should be really, really quiet as you run. I find it interesting with myself, especially when I'm out of shape, trying to get back into shape. The first mile, I'll sound amazing. Second mile, I'm still okay. By the time I hit like mile 4 or 5, and I'm just heavier than what I should be, just because my body control is not where it should be, because cardiovascularly, again, and running is not just all form. You obviously need some type of metabolic energy. You need to be able to, breathe. Okay, you need to be strong, etc., etc. This is just kind of one part of it. Same thing, left leg. Feet straight. Feet on. Okay, it's bounce. Breathless. Left leg, just pull that. Again, whenever you're ready. Nice. And we'll go forward. Okay, you got it. Oh, on you. Okay, I want you to pull right and then pull left. And then go back to the top. So you bounce, you're running this. Awesome, we'll do this together. Sounds good. Okay, yeah, here we go. Here we go, we'll bounce. We're running place. And we'll pull the right. And then we'll pull the left. And we'll pull the right. And we'll pull the left. We'll pull the right. And then we'll pull the left. Relax. Okay? Again, I really think this is like a skill drill. Okay? Same goes out and warms up your basketball. he just doesn't step behind the 3-point line and start raining. Okay? Or you know, no, not from the bed. He just doesn't step back and start dunking. Warms up first with a few laps. You know, but it's the same thing like warming up for a race, warming up for a game or whatever it may be. You just don't go out and just race or go out and play the game. Okay, there's a warm up. Okay, there's some type of progression, form shooting that you would run through. This is what I think that this would be. Okay? A lot of times, my progression into running is my first mile isn't just put on my shoes and run out the door. My first mile is doing this real stuff kind of down my street. Okay. Now I don't just do it, back and forth because I think that looks a little goofy. But I will be like, hey, from here to the corner, I'm left leg pulling as hard as I can. Okay, and I'll pull. And by the time I get to that corner, my left hand should be ready to fire. Okay, hey, and then from here to light pull, I'm gonna right leg pull. I'm gonna pull. And by the time I get there, my right leg. And a period of time until I get to the point where I'm warm, I'm loose. I feel like, hey, I remember how to run again, and now I'm gonna hit the run that I'm gonna hit. Okay, whether it be fast or slow, or whatever the heck I hit on the day. Awesome, feet straight. We're actually gonna move forward this time. Okay. So we'll bounce. Awesome, we'll run in place. We'll pull right and pull left, and whatever makes you happy. Fantastic. Hey, we're running. Right foot at your stride. No, I lied. We'll go back to the same. Here we go. We'll bounce. We're in place. Right and left. Right leg pull. Left leg pull. Right leg pull. Left leg pull. Right leg pull. Left leg pull. Awesome. And we're going forward. And run the same way. We'll have you running, and then it'll be pull, 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 pull. That left leg just kind of flops along. Okay, but that right leg is pulling as hard as you possibly can. Everything's straight, everything quick. Your hamstring should be on fire. This should be an awesome thing. Questions? Awesome. Here we go. Feet straight. Straight. We'll bounce. We'll run this. Here we go. Right leg. This is all be fun. Here we go. And pull, and pull, pull, and pull, 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 and we'll run. Run. And we're running. Just keep going. We're running. Pull right. Right, and run. Quick. And it's not that it puts you in bad biomechanical position or just totally disagrees with the physiology of your body. But you're just slow with heel strike. Like you were on the ground for so long. You're on the ground, you're not going forward. Okay? I can't touch this wall unless I leave the ground. Okay? Even that. We want that foot on the ground for as little time as humanly possible. Okay? So it's really like the ground is hot lava and you're getting your foot on it and off it as quickly as possible. Not only do I want you to pull quick, but I also want you to get that foot on the ground, quickly and then get it off. Even if it's the off leg, the leg that's just kind of floating along, it's still quick. Okay? You still want you on the ground. Okay. And then obviously it's the leg that you're pulling. Okay? We want you to get it on the ground, get it off the ground very quickly and very explosively. Okay. Left leg. Hold on. We'll right twist. We'll pull left. And run. Quick dive out here. And shutting it down by the turf and don't run through the wall. But we really want you to feel, now your hamstring should be a little tired. But we should have you really feel those hamstrings in your pull. So what this is going to look like, we're going to have your nuts. With your run place. We'll just have you leaning a little faster, a little faster. Go with the ball. But get moving a little. You should still be pretty quick. Awesome. Bounce. Run this. Second. gauge up there so we can get stuff. Here we go, here, bounce. Lower in place. Second. Quick.
Lean back.
If you lean back, you throw your heel down, which again is like a lot of people run. So that the whole like heel strength isn't even debated. I just think it's the most asinine thing I've ever heard. Everything's ball. Now, side note, if you're a distance runner, you're running a long period of time, your heel can touch the ground, it just doesn't touch first. And so that's, just like if you're jumping rope, okay, your heel can touch. Absolutely. Just doesn't touch first. If you jump like that, that's absolutely awful. Okay. Be nice and soft. Now, if you're running 100 hurdles, they never touch the ground. Heels will never touch the ground. 100, 200, never touch the ground. 400, no. 800, maybe. Same capacity. You guys, everything cool. Distance, absolutely, your heel should touch the ground. It's just not going to touch first. Same thing, but I really, some of you are being very cautious with the build-up and whatnot, which is great. I really want you to see you pull that heel to the end of the hamstring. Some of you are running, but it's not as fast. I really like to see you pull that hamstring as high as you can, or pull that heel as high as you can. So same thing, just big pull. Okay. What else? Okay, so we're on this. I'm gonna mess with you really quick. We'll pull right leg. Right leg. Right leg. Awesome, we'll pull left leg. Left leg. Left leg. Now right. Pull high, pull high, pull high, pull high, pull high, pull high, pull high. It's funny to see, because that is very fast switch, it's funny to see when her switch turns on, like how absolutely athletic she is with the whole thing. Go ahead and bounce. Fantastic. Front of this. And just run. Let it go. And like an absolute deer that you now very, very good. I think you can pull higher. I'd like to see you get that heel all the way to there. See what happens. Right. Going back, same thing. We'll bounce. Okay, guys, we'll run this. And pull left. Oh, gosh. Sorry, relax. Pull right a few times. Pull left a few times. And set run. I'm going to just take you jog over to that side. That's it. Is that okay? First group, second group. Second group, say go. This is good. You guys are easy. Great watch this. Awesome. First group, real fast. Set go. Second group, set go. Going back. I don't want to say I don't want to say as fast as you can, but I like to say as fast as you can. Right? Don't hurt yourself and don't run into any supports. I just want you to know, see, if you got this over, whole gym class. So, that has to stay up when you have issues, okay? First group. Second group. Naval warfare. It's pretty straightforward. Grab your shoes, grab your socks, come on over. Hey, we'll just wrap up really quick. A lot of people talk about shoes and how shoes work and what to do with them. Blah, blah. For years, I ran in the ASICS Keanu. Why? Because it was the most expensive shoe ASIC made. Why? Because I had a lot of money? No, because I would starve and then buy myself really good shoes. Because if I had really good shoes, I would run really fast. It doesn't matter how well trained I was. It doesn't matter how well I ran physically. It was just, oh, if I had the shoe. These are actually my Ironman shoes from 2004. I was number 180. They make you put your number on everything just in case you lose stuff because there's 2,500 people there. I don't know where the shoelaces went. But this is like the Keanu, this is the Keanu 7. They're up to like the Keanu 24 now, which is ridiculous. Anyway, big beefy shoe, ton of support through the thing, because what shoe companies kind of figured out is that if you stand like a duck, why would we ever teach you to stand properly, or walk properly, or move properly? We can just sell you an expensive shoe, get that posting to try to lift up your arch, so then you're a functional human being. At some point, though, something ends up wearing out and you have issues. So it's your body's physiology and biomechanics can't be fixed by a shoe. So the only reason I make fun of this is because I was this guy. Okay? And when I wasn't running the Keanu's, I had the A6 Evolutions, which was a slightly lower model, but still a really heavy shoe. It's here, feel that. It's not a, I mean, versus what you have now. How my shoes on. I got turned on to, and I'm not really promoting this, but Newton made a running shoe, and they have these lugs on the bottom, and this is how I kind of got into the whole running on the whole foot type thing. And kind of an interesting model. I don't really recommend this for any of you guys. If you do use a shoe, you'd have to practice in it quite a bit. It's not a track shoe at all. But really, I'm down to this thing at this point. It's just very light. Ball it up type. I mean, very similar just to your typical trainer. It's the Mizuno. I don't know what these are. Tiger Paw, Tiger something. It doesn't really matter the shoe, to be very honest with you. I don't really care what you run. It matters as long as you're running well. Where people get themselves in trouble is that if they wear high heels all day and then they try to run in their barefoot Vibram shoe, okay, their little toe shoe, they go from walking around like this all day to now all of a sudden trying to run really hard, or even for a long distance with their toe shoe, and they get this awful pain in the Achilles, or their feet just fall apart, and that is an issue. Okay, so I really encourage you to walk around barefoot as often as you can, as long as it's socially acceptable. We don't want you being the weird guy, in class taking off your shoes and walking around and getting in trouble. But really, that's the issue. People who wear these awful shoes to work. Vibram just got sued. I don't know if you know this. The toe shoe people, this is a few months ago. We actually got sued. There was a settlement eventually, but they claimed that they made feet stronger. And I don't know the details of the whole thing. But I just feel bad because I think their product's really legit. But you have these people who are wearing awful big bushy shoes with a heel to toe drop. So your heel, it's like you're walking with your heels elevated all day. Your heel cord is shortened. And then all of a sudden you go to run in your minimalist shoes, and son of a gun, something goes wrong. And so, I don't know. I'm not saying Vibram was in the right. We're getting involved with anything. I just think it's a neat product. If you do work towards like a minimalist type thing, even like the Nike Freeze and whatnot, they're fantastic. They're a lot more minimal than what something like this would be. You just have to make sure that you're ready for it. You're fine. You are. You just can't jump from big beefy shoes to Vibrams tomorrow and start running 40 miles a week, or something will go wrong. Questions of shoes. Last idea for you guys. In the way of putting this all together, running is truly what we believe to be a skill. Okay, Lauren and Dana were practicing their Olympic lifts today, snatching clean and jerky, and Lauren was working for them. Like she had a camera set up, and she was watching herself clean. And she would do things wrong. She would watch the video, she'd identify those things, and then she'd identify and change it for the next lift. Running is very similar in that sense, okay? Because it is a skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. But you have to do it right. Okay? You have to be cognizant of how you're running and that you're doing it. I know a lot of people are like, I run to relax. I run so I can, check out of the, just whatever it may be. But you still have to be thinking about what you're doing, because if not, then you're just putting yourself through torture for possibly no return. Okay? And I do want you to relax. I do want it to be very therapeutic for you. But at the same time, we want you to run really fast and without any pain. If you're able to integrate any of this stuff, different drills work with different people, and guys, there's a ton of different pose drills that we have. I don't know if they're always appropriate. I'm sorry, they're not always appropriate, depending on kind of where you are. There are certain drills that work really, really well for me that don't work for other athletes. I think if you're able to identify what you're good at, what you're not so good at, okay? In the way of somebody might be landing the ball a foot and making sure that they land really, really soft. I'd like to see you pull harder, more aggressively. Okay? Give me bigger space. I'd like to see what you do too. I'd like to see what a fly 10 looks like. And how aggressive you get with that. Because if you're able to pull a little higher, now all of a sudden you turn, that 400 time could get really scary. Scary good. That's a good go. So if you're able to identify, hey, what you're good at, what you're not so good at, and just make sure that you're doing little things right, that you're standing, your feet are straight. All the time, with everything that you do. Okay? This default position just puts you in a bad position. Your body kind of remembers this position, and then it goes to this position when you don't want it to. A lot of me talking. What questions you guys have?
Is there a certain exercise? I stand like that all the time, kind of the duck foot thing, and other than trying to remember, that would, retrain those muscles?
That's a fantastic question. If the feet are out, it's typically an issue. It's an issue of lots of things. It could be footwear. It could be just you're not used to it. A lot of the times, and what some new research is saying is that it's not so much like you have bad knees because your dad had bad knees and his dad had bad knees. It was you have bad knees because you stand like a duck, because your dad stood like a duck, because his dad stood like a duck, and you guys just kind of followed suit. I'm amazed with what the kids pick up and how they mimic and copy you and how scary that is. But in order to, if you are standing out, you're probably not as strong back here as where you need to be. We sit too much, we drive too much, we put ourselves in these chronic positions. So this is where any type of squatting, deadlifting, single leg work, lunges. Lunges are fantastic, especially for runners because it's unilateral. You get the left side working by the left side, and the right side all by itself. Single leg deadlifts, anything that you're training the back side, and then even any type of core stuff. Push-ups, planks, all that. And then I think a lot of it is combination. And then all of a sudden you just make sure that every time you stand, squeeze your tongue a little bit, and get a little bit more of an arch. Can I answer that?
Yes, no, that's good. I drive a lot, so that makes sense.
Driving drives me.
Yeah.
Pretty sturdy, and so they are able to push out on those things because they push their knees out. Like that's the cue, knees up, and they will torque on those things so stinking hard. A lot of the regular shoes, they will just like bust through the side of the regular shoe. But with the Converse, because it's stinking canvas, it doesn't. They do pretty well. So I think you're fine. Absolutely, good choice. It's fun when you're young, just when you do everything right, and then how you get old, and then everything's just harder. Enjoy this time. Sorry, Matt. We're kids. Anyway, thought every time that you go out in which to do any running. When I say it's running up and down the basketball court, or it's warming up for the football game, or it's track field is or cross country is easy. But just be aware of what you're doing. You're making sure you go out for a run in the snow. Okay, and Savage puts you on the out and back look. Luke, you better come back and your feet should be straight. Okay, and if they're not, then that's something that holy cow, I gotta fix this. I think video is fantastic. Everybody's got a camera on every single cellular device. Tape yourself from the front, from the side, and see what you look like. Are you striking directly underneath yourself? Are you pulling really hard? If you have questions, let me know. We can always analyze video. That's fun.
Is it different on the treadmill?
Yes. Treadmill is hard because the ground is moving, not you. And so you can still have You could still do all the same stuff, but because the ground's moving, you end up striking out in front of yourself a little bit more, and we'd rather have you strike right underneath yourself. Which is not something I cue a whole lot because you guys do it naturally once you get in. So that's the only issue I have with the treadmill. It turns into much more of a hip flexor thing. So, just put on stocking cap, Joe. I think what does help is if you up the incline, that does help negate it a little bit.
Okay.